5 years passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. Humans spread across 3 colony worlds, with outposts on 7 more. Earth's technology advanced rapidly, with help from alien knowledge. Captain Alan Richards stood on the bridge of the HSS Horizon, humanity's first true deep space vessel. The ship combined human innovation with Council technology, capable of traveling farther and faster than any previous Earth craft. Status report. Alan called to his crew as they prepared to leave the Proxima Centauri system. All systems normal, Captain, replied his first officer. We should reach the Vega outpost in 3 days. Alan nodded, but something troubled him. The Council representatives had been oddly insistent about their flight path and schedule. It was one of many small oddities he had noticed lately. Back on Earth, Dr. Karen White examined blood samples from colonists who had returned from Titan Base. As a xenobiologist, she studied how alien environments affected human biology. What she found disturbed her deeply. These markers shouldn't be here, she muttered to herself. The cellular changes looked deliberate, not environmental. It reminded her of controlled testing, not random exposure. She immediately called Daniel Harris, who had risen to Chief Security Officer for Human Council Relations. I need to show you something, she said when they met in her secure lab. Someone has been experimenting on our colonists. Daniel frowned as he studied her evidence. This matches other reports I've been gathering. Strange incidents on all our colonies, always explained away by the Council as unfortunate accidents or environmental adaptation. Meanwhile, John Carter, a security specialist working with Daniel, managed to place a monitoring device in a Council meeting room. The device was based on Council technology, but modified by human engineers to be undetectable. That night, he burst into Daniel's office, his face pale. You need to hear this, he said, playing a recording. The alien voices spoke in their own language, but the translation was clear. The human containment protocol must be accelerated. Their adaptation rate exceeds predictions. The Council voted. Earth cannot be allowed to develop further. They are too unpredictable. Daniel immediately contacted Susan Wallace, who had continued her work analyzing the Council database. I need everything you can find on other young species that joined the Council, he told her. Susan worked through the night, bypassing security protocols she had secretly mapped over the years. By morning, she had a disturbing answer. 17 species have left the Council in the last 1,000 years, she told Daniel when they met in a secure room. But there's no record of where they went. It's like they just disappeared. Daniel brought the core team together. Himself, Susan, Karen, and John. They'd met in an old building with no electronic connections, away from Council monitoring. We need to know what happened to those species, Daniel said. And we need to prepare for the possibility that Earth is next. Karen shared her findings about the biological testing. John presented the recorded conversations. Susan showed the patterns of disappearing species. The Council sees us as a threat, Daniel concluded. We adapt too quickly. We're too resourceful. We don't follow predictable patterns like other species. We need to warn Ambassador Miller, Susan suggested. I'm not sure we can, John replied grimly. I've been watching him. The Council gave him neural implants last year as a health enhancement. I believe they're influencing his thoughts. Captain Richards contacted them from the horizon with more evidence. His ship had discovered an abandoned colony of one of the missing species. It showed signs of systematic eradication. Whatever the Council is planning, Daniel told the team, we need to prepare quietly. Earth thinks we're part of a benevolent galactic community, but the evidence suggests we're actually being set up for elimination. They agreed to form a secret group to investigate further and develop contingency plans. They called it Cassandra after the prophet from Greek mythology who warned of danger but wasn't believed. The Council thinks they know everything about us, Karen said as they ended their meeting. But they don't understand what humans do when cornered. They have no idea what they're about to face. The Shadow moved silently through space, its systems running in stealth mode as it approached the Tellurian homeworld. Inside the ship, Lisa Green reviewed the greeting she had prepared in the complex Tellurian language. Remember, Daniel told her via comlink from Haven, we need allies, not just sympathy. Make it clear we have evidence of what the Council has done to other species besides humans. Lisa nodded. The Tellurians value truth above all else. Once they see the archives, they'll understand. On the bridge, Nicole Clark monitored their approach. Tellurian security net in range. No sign they've detected us. The shadow entered orbit around the Tellurian world, positioning itself near a secure communication relay. Lissa transmitted her carefully crafted message directly to the private channel of Verith, the Tellurian who had opposed humanity's elimination. 2 hours later, they received a response, a set of coordinates, and a simple phrase in Tellurian that translated to "truth must be witnessed." Meanwhile, 4 other ships from the Phantom Fleet executed simultaneous strikes against Council facilities. Unlike previous missions that left only messages, these attacks targeted the Council's main communication hub. Admiral Richards personally led this mission aboard the Phantom ship Vengeance. His team moved through the station with precision, disabling guards with non-lethal weapons. Central control room secured, reported his second-in-command. Richards nodded. Begin the broadcast. Susan Wallace had prepared a special transmission package containing proof of the Council's genocides. This evidence now streamed to every planet in Council space, along with footage of Earth before and after the attack. At the end of the transmission appeared the now familiar warning. You were warned to run. The Council headquarters on Proxima Centralis erupted in chaos. Emergency alarms blared as reports flooded in from across their territory. How is this possible? Demanded Zortak, his silver skin flushed dark with anger. Who dares challenge the Council this way? His aide approached nervously. Sir, we're receiving reports of Tellurian ships mobilizing. And the Vosk. They're openly denouncing us. They're saying humans survived and have provided them with evidence of our actions. Impossible. Tak slammed his fist down. No species has ever survived a Council cleansing. But the evidence was undeniable. The carefully constructed lies of the Council were unraveling across the galaxy. Back on Haven, General Laura Martinez prepared for the next phase. She had survived the Earth attack by evacuating on one of the last ships and now commanded Haven's ground forces. The rescue teams are ready, she told Daniel. Once we get confirmation from Nicole, we'll move to extract the human survivors from the colony worlds. Daniel nodded, studying the latest intelligence reports. The Council is scrambling to respond. They'd never faced this situation before, a species that survived their attack and is now exposing their crimes. At that moment, a communication came in from the shadow. Lisa's face appeared on screen, and beside her stood a tall, willowy alien with iridescent skin. A Tellurian. Director Harris, Lisa said formally, I present Verith, Chief Truth Keeper of the Tellurian Collective. He and his people wish to join our alliance against the Council. Verith spoke, his melodic voice translated by Lisa's program. For too long, we watched in silence as the Council eliminated species they deemed threatening. We were wrong not to act sooner. But now, we stand with humanity. Similar communications came in from contacts with the Vosk, and, unexpectedly, 2 other species who had been silently questioning the Council for generations. In a daring raid, General Martinez led a team to the experimental facilities where the Council had been keeping human captives. Despite heavy resistance, they freed over 300 prisoners. As the rescued humans were brought to Haven, one of them, a scientist named Eric Brown, brought crucial information. They've been studying us, he told Daniel after his medical clearance. They're terrified of something they found in our genetic makeup, our potential for rapid evolution. They call it the infinity factor, and they believe if we're allowed to develop further, we'll eventually surpass them. Daniel smiled grimly. Then let's prove them right. 3 weeks after forming the Cassandra Group, Daniel Harris called an emergency meeting. The team gathered in an old mining tunnel deep beneath Denver, one of the few places they were certain had no council surveillance. "We found something," he said, his voice tense. Susan managed to decrypt a section of the council database. "It's worse than we thought." Susan Wallace connected her tablet to a projector. Images and text appeared on the wall of the tunnel. "The Galactic Council has been systematically eliminating potential rival species for over 3,000 years, she explained. Any species that shows unusual adaptability or rapid technological advancement is eventually marked for removal." "How many?" asked Karen White, clutching her notebook tightly. 26 confirmed species completely wiped out," Susan replied. 17 more reduced to primitive states or confined to single planets with their technology stripped away. John Carter stepped forward. "We also identified the main architects of these operations. 2 council members lead most of these efforts, Zortak of the Varaxi and Melira of the Senth." Daniel pointed to images of the 2 aliens. "They're currently overseeing what they call the Human Containment Initiative. According to the files we found, they consider us particularly dangerous because of our unpredictability." Karen shook her head. "But why? We've been peaceful members. We've followed all their rules." "That's just it," Susan explained. "We adapt too quickly to their technology. We find uses they never considered. We ask questions they don't want asked. Most species take centuries to advance through tech levels that we master in decades." "There's more," John added grimly. "Remember that database they gave us as a gift 5 years ago? It contained hidden surveillance systems that have been monitoring all our communications and research." The team fell silent as the implications sank in. "What about Ambassador Miller?" Karen asked finally. Daniel's expression darkened. "The neural implants they gave him have compromised his mind. He's not aware of it, but he's essentially become their puppet." At that moment, Dr. Peter Johnson, a neurologist who had recently joined their group, entered the tunnel carrying a small device. "I may have a solution for the surveillance problem," he said, placing the device on the table. "This creates a field that disrupts their monitoring systems. It's based on their own technology, but I've modified it in a way they wouldn't expect." "We'll need more of these," Daniel said, "and we need to start preparing without alerting the council." Susan checked her tablet. "There's something else you all need to know. The council has scheduled what they're calling an economic summit on Earth next month. All major human leaders will attend." John pulled up more files. "According to these records, that's the same pattern they used before eliminating the Diraxians and the Tall. They gather all leadership in one place, then strike." "How much time do we have?" asked Daniel. "The summit is in 23 days, Susan replied. Daniel stood up. "Then we have 23 days to prepare Earth's defenses without letting the council know we're onto them. Can we warn the government?" Karen asked. "Not directly," Daniel replied. "Too many communications are monitored. But I have contacts in the military, including General Laura Martinez. She's always been skeptical of the council. I'll continue searching for more details about their attack strategy," Susan offered. "And I'll work on a way to free Ambassador Miller from their control," added Peter. As the meeting ended, they all understood the enormous task ahead. They had to prepare for a war without letting the enemy know they were preparing. They had to save humanity from a threat most humans didn't even know existed. Daniel looked at each member of the team. "The council thinks they're hunting us," he said quietly. "We need to show them they've made a deadly mistake. Humans aren't prey." The skies above New York City lit up with strange lights on a cool September evening in 2089. It wasn't a meteor shower or military exercise. Everyone knew this was something entirely new. The massive ship hovered silently over Central Park, its hull shimmering with colors humans had never seen before. Commander Jack Miller stood tall as the alien ramp descended. After 20 years in the Space Force, he thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. The aliens called themselves Araxians, tall, slender beings with silver skin that reflected the camera flashes around them. "We come from the Galactic Council, A union of 126 species, said the lead Araxian in perfect English. We've been watching Earth for some time. We believe you are ready to join us. In the weeks that followed, the world changed forever. President Williams appointed Jack as Earth's first ambassador to the Council. His first task was to assemble a team. Lisa Green joined first. She had an amazing gift for languages and quickly began learning the complex sounds and symbols of alien speech. Within a month, she could speak basic Araxian without the translation devices they provided. It's fascinating, Lisa told Jack as they prepared for their first trip to the Council headquarters. Their language has 15 vowels, but the real meaning comes from subtle changes in tone. Daniel Harris, a security officer with sharp eyes and a sharper mind, completed their core team. He watched the aliens carefully during each meeting, noting their habits and reactions. Something feels off, Daniel said one night as they reviewed the day's negotiations. They're too interested in our military capabilities and resource production, less interested in our art or philosophy. Jack nodded but reminded him, we're the newcomers here. We need to show trust to get trust. The Araxians invited Earth to send representatives to the Council's central station, a massive structure orbiting a distant star. Jack, Lisa, and Daniel made the journey along with 50 other specialists from Earth. Susan Wallace, a data analyst with thick glasses and a photographic memory, joined them at the station. Her job was to sort through the mountain of information the Council had shared with Earth. The Council gifted humans with access to their central database, a gesture they claimed was a sign of good faith. Susan dove into the data, working long hours to understand the complex systems. It's incredible what they've accomplished, she told the team during their daily meeting. Their medical technology alone could eliminate most diseases on Earth. Earth quickly established trade with several alien species. Human art became surprisingly valuable, with simple paintings selling for the equivalent of millions. In return, Earth received technology that helped clean its polluted atmosphere and increased food production tenfold. But Daniel's concerns didn't fade. 6 months after first contact, he noticed patterns in the Council's behavior. They restrict our access to certain sections of the station, he pointed out. And have you noticed how they never discussed the species that left the Council? Susan found something troubling in the database. There are encrypted sections that our access codes can't open. When I asked about them, the Araxian representative said they were cultural incompatibilities we weren't ready to understand. Jack took their concerns seriously, but had to balance caution with diplomacy. Earth needed the Council's technology and protection. The galaxy was vast and potentially dangerous. Keep looking, but be careful, Jack instructed them. We don't want to appear ungrateful or suspicious. As Earth celebrated 1 year of Council membership, humans had already established small colonies on 3 nearby planets. Their ships, now enhanced with alien technology, could travel faster than anyone had dreamed possible just years earlier. On the surface, it was a golden age for humanity. But Daniel and Susan continued to find troubling inconsistencies in the Council's story. Something wasn't right, and they were determined to discover what the Council was hiding before it was too late. 3 years passed since the attack on Earth. Haven had grown from a desperate refugee camp into a functioning colony. Underground facilities housed factories, research labs, and training centers. On the surface, carefully hidden settlements blended with the natural environment to avoid detection from space. Captain Richards, now promoted to admiral, surveyed the first completed ship of the Phantom Fleet. The vessel looked unlike any human craft before it. Its dark hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it, and its unusual angles were designed to deflect sensor scans. She's ready for her first mission, said Paul Adams proudly. He had worked day and night for years to create this technological marvel. We're calling her Shadow. Perfect name, Richards nodded. And just in time. The command team gathered in Haven's central operations room, built deep within a mountain. Daniel Harris, now the intelligence director, stood before a large display showing a map of Council space. Steve's reconnaissance teams have found something important, he began. There are human survivors on 3 colony worlds the Council missed in their initial attack. They're keeping a low profile, but they're alive. The room filled with murmurs of surprise and hope. Daniel continued, additionally, we've located archives on a remote Council outpost that document the extinction of 17 other species. We now have proof of their crimes. Which brings us to Operation Nemesis, Richards said, taking over the briefing. 3 years ago, they tried to wipe us out. Now we're going to expose them to the entire galaxy. Security specialist Nicole Clark stepped forward. She had been training special teams for covert operations since the founding of Haven. My team will infiltrate the Council outpost, she explained. We'll extract the archives and plant evidence of our survival that will only be discovered after we're gone. Susan Wallace had been working with Lisa Green to create a special message. We're going to leave behind a warning in all Council languages, Susan said. Simple but effective. Lisa displayed the message on the screen. In 23 different alien scripts it read, "You were warned to run." The Council prides itself on being all-powerful, Daniel explained. This message will shake their confidence. They'll know someone survived who understands their crimes. Richards laid out the rest of the plan. Once the archives are secured, we'll begin limited strikes against Council facilities. Each strike will leave behind the same message. We want them confused, paranoid, and looking over their shoulders. Over the next 2 months, Operation Nemesis unfolded with precision. Nichols' team infiltrated the Council outpost using the Shadow stealth technology. They moved through the facility like ghosts, downloading the genocide archives and planting their warning message in the system. 3 days later, a minor Council supply station reported a security breach. Nothing was damaged or stolen, but every screen in the facility suddenly displayed the message, "You were warned to run." A week after that, a Council research lab experienced the same thing. Then a fuel depot. Then a communications relay. Each incident was reported to the Council leadership. Each time, investigation teams found no explanation for how their security was breached. At the Council headquarters on Proxima Centralis, Zortak called an emergency meeting. "Someone is penetrating our most secure facilities with ease," he told the gathered representatives. Yet they take nothing and harm no one. They merely leave this message. Milira, his longtime ally, looked disturbed. Could some humans have survived our cleansing operation? Impossible. Zortak dismissed the idea. Our bioweapons were thorough. No human technology could have protected them. But doubt had been planted. Council members began questioning the official story of Earth's destruction. Meanwhile, Richards and Daniel prepared for the next phase of their operation. The Phantom Fleet had grown to 7 ships, each with specially trained crews. Nichols' team found something else in the archives. Daniel told Richards as they reviewed the latest intelligence. 3 species within the Council, the Tellarians, the Vosk, and the Noor, protested the decision to eliminate humanity. They were overruled. Richards looked thoughtful. Then perhaps it's time we made contact with them. The Council has ruled through fear for too long. Let's give their dissidents something else to believe in. As he spoke, the Shadow departed Haven on its most daring mission yet, to make direct contact with potential allies within the Council itself. The system called Haven existed on no official star charts. Located in a dense nebula that interfered with standard scanners, it had been discovered by an Earth exploration team 3 years earlier and kept secret as a potential emergency refuge. 2 months after the attack on Earth, 12 human ships orbited the 3rd planet of Haven's yellow star. The HSS Horizon served as the command center for what remained of humanity's space forces. Captain Alan Richards stood before the gathered leaders in the Horizon's conference room. His uniform was worn, his face tired, but his eyes burned with determination. "Our current population stands at just over 23,000, he announced. "We've established a basic colony on the planet's surface and converted the ships to serve as orbital habitats." Daniel Harris stepped forward. He had lost his left arm during the escape from Earth, now replaced with a basic prosthetic. "I've compiled all our intelligence on the Council's actions," he said. "They've announced to the galaxy that Earth suffered a tragic environmental catastrophe and that all humans perished." The room was silent as this information sank in. "They think we're extinct," Susan Wallace added, "which gives us one advantage. They're not looking for us." Susan had set up a new data center on Haven, piecing together all the information they had managed to save from Earth. Her analysis of Council technology had revealed something important. "I found critical weaknesses in their systems," she told the group, displaying diagrams on the main screen. "Their technology is advanced, but it's remained largely unchanged for millennia. They stopped innovating long ago." Dr. Karen White shared her findings next. "My team has discovered something remarkable about humans that the Council feared. We adapt biologically much faster than any species they've encountered. The tests they ran on our colonists proved this, which is why they decided to eliminate us." She displayed genetic comparisons. "Humans exposed to alien environments show rapid cellular adaptation. We evolve within a single generation in ways that take other species hundreds of generations." "But that's not all," added engineer Paul Adams, a thin man with quick hands who had joined them from one of the colony ships. "I've been studying the Council's propulsion and stealth systems. With some modifications, I think we can create ships they cannot detect." A debate broke out among the leaders. Some argued they should focus solely on survival, building their colony on Haven, and staying hidden from the Council forever. Others insisted they had a duty to expose what the Council had done, not just to humanity, but to all the other species that had been exterminated. After hours of discussion, Captain Richards called for a vote. "We have two paths before us," he said. "Isolation and survival, or resistance and justice. I ask each of you to choose." The vote was counted. Survival alone was rejected. The decision to fight back passed with 78% support. "Then it's decided," Richards said. "We are not just survivors. We are the human resistance." The next morning, they formed a leadership council with Richards commanding military operations and Daniel heading intelligence. Susan would lead technology development, while Dr. White continued her biological research. Paul Adams was assigned to develop what he called the Phantom Fleet, ships using modified Council technology that could move undetected through Council space. "If we're going to fight back, we need information first," Daniel told the new Council. "We need to know what happened to Earth after we left, and whether any other humans survived." His assistant brought in a slim man with intense eyes, Steve Walsh, who had been a Special Forces operative on Earth. "I volunteer to lead the first recon mission," Steve said. "My team can get in, gather intelligence, and get out without being detected." Richards nodded. "Approved. But this isn't just about gathering information. If you find survivors, bring them back." As the meeting ended, Susan approached Daniel privately. "I found something else in the Council data," she said quietly. "Evidence that humans weren't their first target. At least 17 other species have been wiped out because the Council feared their potential." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Then perhaps we need to find out if any of them survived too. The Council has made many enemies. Maybe it's time those enemies united." 1 year after making contact with the Tellarians, the Alliance fleet gathered at the edge of the Proxima Centralis system. Over 300 ships from 7 different species formed the largest multi-species force the galaxy had seen in millennia. Admiral Richards stood on the bridge of the Defiance, the newest and largest ship of the Phantom Fleet. The vessel combined human innovation with technologies contributed by their new allies. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said his communications officer. Richards nodded. "Send the message we discussed. All channels, all languages." Throughout Council space, on every communication device, screen, and public announcement system, the same message played. "We gave you a chance to run." On Proxima Centralis, the remaining Council loyalists prepared for a final stand. Many council species had already abandoned the Alliance after learning the truth about its history of genocide. Zor-Tak and Melira, once the most powerful members of the council, now commanded a diminished but still dangerous force. They had gathered their remaining ships around the council headquarters, an enormous space station that had been the center of galactic governance for thousands of years. "They cannot defeat us," Zor-Tak assured the nervous representatives who remained loyal. "Our technology is superior. Our defenses are impenetrable." As if in answer to his words, alarms blared throughout the station. The first phantom ships appeared inside their defensive perimeter, somehow bypassing their most sophisticated detection systems. The battle for Proxima Centralis began. Alliance ships engaged Council defenders, while specially trained teams led by Daniel Harris and Nicole Clark infiltrated the Council headquarters. "The primary goal is to secure the Central Archive," Daniel reminded his team as they moved silently through the station's corridors. "Everything the Council has ever done is recorded there." Meanwhile, Admiral Richards directed the space battle from the Defiance. The Council ships fought desperately, but found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. The Phantom Fleet's stealth technology, combined with tactics no Council strategist had ever encountered, created chaos among their forces. On the station, Zor-Tak prepared to destroy the Central Archive, rather than let it fall into Alliance hands. As he input the self-destruct sequence, a voice spoke from behind him. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." Zor-Tak turned to find Admiral Richards standing there, weapon aimed steadily. "How did you get here?" Zor-Tak demanded. "This chamber is secure." Richards smiled grimly. "You never understood humans. We adapt. We overcome. We find ways where others see only walls." Across the station, Daniel's team secured the remaining Council leaders. Melira attempted to release a final bioweapon, but was stopped by quick action from Dr. Karen White, who had developed a neutralizing agent specifically for this mission. As the fighting subsided, representatives from all Alliance species gathered in the Council's Great Chamber. Richards and Daniel brought Zor-Tak and Melira before this impromptu tribunal. For thousands of years, the Council has presented itself as the guardian of peace, Daniel addressed the gathering. In reality, it has committed genocide against any species it deemed a potential threat. He activated a display showing the complete historical record from the Central Archive. 26 species completely eradicated, 17 reduced to primitive states, and Earth, you tried to add us to that list. Vareth of the Talarians stepped forward. "The Council's time is over. Today we form a new galactic alliance based on cooperation, not fear." The new alliance quickly established itself. Every species would have equal representation. No species could be eliminated for being unpredictable or too adaptable. Knowledge would be shared, not hoarded. 6 months later, ships from the Alliance arrived at Earth. The planet was healing from the attack, but would need centuries to fully recover. Still, teams began the process of reclaiming their homeworld. On Haven, a memorial was built to honor those lost in what became known as the Council War. Daniel Harris stood before it on the day of its dedication, looking at the names of billions who had died. A Talarian representative approached him. "Your species saved not just yourselves, but all of us. The Council would have continued eliminating threats forever." Daniel nodded slowly. "Humans have a saying, 'What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.' They tried to exterminate us, but instead, they forced us to become something greater than we were." He looked up at the stars visible through Haven's transparent dome. "They never understood that trying to contain humanity only ensures we'll break free with even greater force. That was their final mistake." The day of the Economic Summit arrived with clear skies. Over Washington, D.C., tall council ships hovered above the city, their gleaming hulls reflecting the morning sun. World leaders gathered in the Grand Conference Center, unaware of the danger. General Laura Martinez stood in the Pentagon's command center, watching multiple screens. Daniel had managed to warn her just in time. While she couldn't convince the president about the council's true intentions without proof, She had quietly positioned military forces on high alert. "All units in position," reported her aide. Laura nodded grimly. "Let's hope we're wrong about all this." In orbit around Earth, Major Frank Cooper commanded the Lunar Defense Base. His orders from General Martinez were clear. "Be ready for anything, but don't make any obvious moves that might alert the Council." "Sir," called one of his officers, "we're detecting energy buildups in the Council ships." Frank leaned forward. "What kind?" "Weapons signatures, sir. They're charging weapon systems." Frank hit the alarm. "Battle stations. This is not a drill." On Earth, the summit was just beginning when Ambassador Miller suddenly clutched his head and collapsed. Dr. Peter Johnson rushed forward from where he had been waiting nearby. He quickly attached the small device to Miller's neck. Miller's eyes cleared instantly. "They're here to kill us all," he gasped. "They're in my head. I can hear them." Before anyone could respond, a blinding flash lit up the windows. The first Council strikes hit military bases around the world. Lisa Green was in the Council Translation Center when the attack began. She immediately accessed the communication systems and began entering commands in the alien language. "What are you doing?" demanded a Council technician. "Saving lives," she replied, continuing to type rapidly. Using her deep knowledge of alien languages, she sent conflicting orders to different Council ships, creating confusion in their attack pattern. Outside, the sky filled with alien fighters. They fired strange weapons that released clouds of glittering particles. "Bioweapons," Karen White said as she watched from her lab. She had been expecting this. For weeks, her team had been distributing a countermeasure through the water supply, based on the samples she had studied from the colonists. "Their weapons won't work as they expect," she told Daniel over a secure line. "But that won't stop their conventional attacks." The Council forces struck hard at military bases, government centers, and major cities. Human forces fought back with everything they had, but their weapons were far less advanced. At the lunar base, Major Cooper's team held their ground against overwhelming odds. "We need to buy time for the evacuation ships," he told his soldiers as they fired defensive weapons at approaching Council vessels. "Every minute we hold is another 100 lives saved." Susan Wallace worked frantically at the Colorado Mountain Complex, where the HS Horizon had secretly docked for repairs. She transferred crucial data to the ship's computers, while evacuation transports loaded with civilians prepared for emergency departure. "How much time do we have?" Captain Richards asked her. "Not enough," she replied, fingers flying over her keyboard. "But every bit of this data is vital if humanity is going to survive." Across Earth, the battle raged. Human forces fought bravely, but were overwhelmed by superior technology. Yet something unexpected was happening. The Council's bioweapons failed completely, thanks to Dr. White's countermeasures, and their communication systems suffered from the confusion Lisa had created. On the White House lawn, Ambassador Miller used emergency override codes to broadcast a final message to all human ships. "This is Ambassador Miller. Earth is lost. Proceed to Emergency Coordinates Haven. The Council believes this is a complete victory. Let them think that." As he finished the transmission, Council troops surrounded him. Miller smiled sadly as he pressed a hidden button on his belt, triggering an EMP device that destroyed nearby Council communication equipment. The HSS Horizon and 11 other ships broke through the Council blockade, carrying thousands of human survivors and irreplaceable knowledge. As they accelerated away from Earth, the crew watched their home world grow smaller behind them. "They think they've won," said Captain Richards quietly. "That will be their first mistake of many."